Today on CityCast Austin. In case you didn't know, I'm the show's resident cinephile, and this year's Oscar nominations just came out. So, we're revisiting an interview I did in December with a local film critic about the best films of the year, many of which made the Academy Award list too. It's Monday, February 3rd. I'm Rishi Bajekal, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hey, I'm here with Kimberly Jones, the editor of the Austin Chronicle, who's also been writing about film, art, and culture there since 2000. So, you and a few coworkers at the Austin Chronicle just released a list of the top 10 films of the year. Can you tell us about what the process was like for picking these films?
Sure. The process was pretty straightforward. We have Richard and myself both wrote up our own top 10 lists. And then additionally, our colleague Marjorie Baumgarten, who for, about 30 years ran the film coverage at the Austin Chronicle. Marge was instrumental in sort of building up film criticism in Austin, founding member of the Austin Film Critics Association. So Marge is more or less retired, but we pull her back into the game every once in a while. And so she also contributed to the top 10. So basically, we all had our top 10 lists. We threw them together, and these are the 10 films that emerged. Anora, The Brutalist, Civil War, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, La Chimera, Nickel Boys, September 5th, Sing Sing, and The Substance. The only film that showed up on all three of our lists was Anora. Have you seen Anora?
That's one of the few that I've seen, honestly, and I loved it. I love Sean Baker. And so, yeah, this one was like his sort of like, capturing a very niche world inside our universe. I really love how he does that and just captures some like human connection you have to this world that you're probably not even aware of. It was great. I really loved that one.
Yeah, Anora is really special. And I think it's going to be the first time that a lot of people have clocked to Sean Baker films. He's a really interesting indie filmmaker who largely makes films about sex workers, which is really interesting in and of itself, and really exploring, their humanity and sort of pulling back the curtain on their day-to-day lives and their relationship to their professions. In this case, Anora, or Ani, is a woman who's she's an exotic dancer, and she meets up with the son of a Russian oligarch, and they have this short-lived affair, and then her parents' goons sort of come in and try to split them apart. And it turns into this incredible, like, screwball comedy. This one crazy night when they're trying to track down the son, who's kind of a jerk. The movie just moves in this sort of mysterious way. You think it's going to be about a certain thing, and then you get to the end, you're like, oh my God, it was about that? That's incredible.
Absolutely.
And the emotions kind of, you think you're also watching this sort of like uncomplicated comedy. And then there's some darkness comes in and some nuance and an alternate potential love interest. And it just kind of steals over you in a really magical way. So I'm so glad you've seen that. It's I think it's still in theaters, so people might want to run out, and it's still in a couple theaters. Grab it, because it's the kind of movie. I saw it on a screener at home. I really wish I'd been in a theater with other people, because I think you want that communal feeling for something that touches you like that. It just feels good to be around other people feeling the same things as you,
Totally. Yeah, I think I watched it at Alamo Drafthouse South Lamar. That one, definitely recommend. It is incredible.
Yeah. And I think it's a front runner it's been when people, I pay attention to all the Oscar race prognostication, and people are they're high on Anora, which is in and of itself, I think, pretty incredible that a movie that ambitious, it's exciting that people are getting excited about this kind of movie. It's not your traditional prestige picture,
Yeah. So what other kind of movies do you have on your top lists?
Another one we should absolutely talk about is Sing Sing, another hugely heartwarming film, really touching. And it has an Austin connection. The director is Greg Cuidar. He's an Austin filmmaker. And this is a movie about about a really interesting and real life, true life program about arts rehabilitation in prison.
Hmm.
It's basically prisoners, and it's, Sing Sing, it's right there in the title of the film. They do theater productions as a way to sort of work through their trauma and explore different facets of themselves that have maybe not had that opportunity. And Coleman Domingo stars in it, and he's incredible. He's pretty much incredible in everything he does, but there's something about this performance that just knocked me out. And this actually, it came out over the summer, but it didn't get a ton of eyeballs on it, but it's definitely in the Oscar race, and they're re-releasing it. A24 is the distributor. It's also available to rent to stream if you just want to watch it at home, but it's really magical. And the other really cool thing about it is that a lot of the prisoners the actors in the film playing fellow prisoners are they're graduates of this real life program. But it's a really wonderful, heartfelt film that you're gonna cry. I cried, and crying's good for you. So
It is. Yeah, I think we
yeah.
could all use one right now.
Absolutely. But yeah, also on our collective list are, a couple films that have already come out, like Civil War. That's on HBO Max right now. It's a really interesting movie, especially after the election. I think people are looking at it with a new light. And The Substance is another. It's a body horror film, so I haven't seen it. I will never see it. That's not true. I might break down soon because people are really excited about it. My number one film of the year on my own list is The Brutalist. Have you heard about The Brutalist or seen the trailer?
I have seen the trailer, but
Okay.
I have not seen the movie yet, but I love Adrian Brody. Yeah, I saw it as your number one pick, so I'm very curious. Your review of it starts with, in a year of big swings, this has to be the biggest. So I'm
Hmm.
very curious what makes this the biggest, especially in the same year as Honora.
It is a 3.5 hour film with an intermission about a Holocaust survivor who comes to America and just goes through the ringer, basically. It was shot in VistaVision, which is an outdated format that I don't think they stopped using it in like the 70s. But if you watch an old film, you'll see filmed in VistaVision. And I saw the movie. It premiered at the Austin Film Festival earlier in the fall. I saw it at the Paramount. And when filmed in VistaVision came on the screen, the entire theater erupted in applause. It was so cool. It was just, a theater full of film fans, just giddy at the sight of, oh my gosh. And pretty much for moment one, the movie knocks you out just in terms of its ambition, in terms of its scale.
Wow.
Adrian Brody stars in it, and there's also Guy Pearce as a supporting actor who's in an incredible role as sort of this captain of industry, capitalist. The film is tackling big ideas about what it means, what America means, and what America represents, and how workers are treated in America, how immigrants are treated in America. It's set in the 40s and 50s, but it has very much contemporary resonance. And it starts from a place of, I think, hopefulness and ends in a place of, oof, it's a rough, rough sledding. It's an incredibly emotionally impactful film. I also said in my little write up that I didn't think it was a perfect film. The film that happens before the intermission is a perfect film. I think it's incredible, and I teared up literally in the first moments of the film because the lead is coming up through a boat. He's arriving at Ellis Island, and you see him come out of the dark into the light, and he stares up at the Statue of Liberty, and it is an incredibly powerful moment.
Mm.
He's setting you up right there for, you are about to see a monumental film about the American experience, but it goes in places that you cannot anticipate. It's really incredible. There's a lot to talk about, which I love. If you don't mind, I want to shout out an incredibly niche film. It's on Prime right now. So if you got Prime Video, and I feel like most of us do, Pop it on. Just see what you think. It's called Hundreds of Beavers. This is a micro indie. This is the tiniest of tiny films.
Nice. Love those.
Yeah, it took years to make, labor of love, and it's a black and white silent or non-speaking film about a frontiersman in the 1800s who goes to war with beavers.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. But it's basically like a live action Looney Tunes, and there's animation in it too. And there's when I modified that, it's not exactly silent because there's very emotive grunts and snorts and "rrr," and
Beaver noises count, right?
and lots of beaver notes. Oh, and I should say the beavers are played by people in costume.
Oh, nice. Okay.
With giant beaver heads.
Like practical effects.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's animation and there's grown-ups dressed like in beaver outfits, and there's rabbits, and it's really just I sort of will watch it in 10-minute increments because it really is like watching a Looney Tunes or watching like an old Buster Keaton short, or you're experiencing these sight gags. But there's also sort of video game references in it too, because the frontiersman is pretty hapless and he's always near dying and then reviving. And it's just a lot of fun. And it's just like really cool to see what imagination and very little money can do to produce something that I think is just an incredible work of art.
Totally.
So people should absolutely check that out.
There's no place like Texas, except when it comes to skiing. We know you're heading to seek snowier pastures this winter. Before you leave, grab one last taste of the real Texas in Amarillo. Hike, ride, or roll your way through the beauty of Palo Duro Canyon, the second largest canyon in the U.S., while your legs still feel fresh. Carbo load with that last taste of glorious Tex-Mex before you pivot to warm soups and chalet charcuterie. Or sneak into a speakeasy and enjoy a well-crafted cocktail before those shot skis get passed around. Amarillo is quirky and wild, Western and spontaneous. You can spray paint a Cadillac, cruise Route 66, or find a cowgirl hat to complete the outfit that's been missing something. Whether we catch you on the way there or the way back, we can't wait to hear your stories and pour you a drink. The mountains may be calling, but Amarillo will make you proud to call Texas home. Visit Amarillo and après-ski into the real Texas.
You've been doing this for 24 years now, and I'm curious about how this year in movies compares to other years.
I started reviewing movies in 2000. Big Mama's House was my first, which to date myself, that was my first review.
Nice.
Not a great movie, but we went up from there. So I referenced that just to say that I think that was a pretty incredible time in terms of, especially with sort of the rise of independent filmmaking becoming the dominant, we were talking about Paul Thomas Anderson films and Tarantino films, and there's just a lot of really great film culture. And also, I think that the films were still the dominant culture that people were talking about, and film going was, I think, more vibrant back then. In 2024, I feel like it's sort of a little bit the same as it ever was, in the sense that for easily a decade now, we're either talking about the death rattle of movies or they're roaring back to life. We're always saying they're about to be donezo. And then, Moana 2 comes out, and Inside Out 2 and Wicked. Those were all massive blockbusters. And so I think the box office at least sort of roared back to life. But I think a few things. I think that we're still dealing with the effects of the pandemic and what it did to the production cycle, but also what it did to moviegoer habits. I think we all got pretty used to streaming things at home and being okay with it. Back in my day, when a movie played in theaters, it was, 6 to 9 months before it came out on DVD or it showed up on HBO on Saturday night. And that window has shrunk.
Sure.
So I think that has changed things. And then also, last year we had both a writer's strike and an actor's strike. And that also, I think, impacted what we're seeing now. So I think next year, I think the movies are going to be a little bit better. I think it was overall a pretty good year for movies. I liked a lot of movies. I didn't fall in love with that many movies. Yeah, so a pretty good year for movies. How about that?
I like that. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it.
You know, when we make these lists, they're really personal. They're absolutely a reflection of our own idiosyncratic tastes. Just some things speak to me, some things don't. And so everything on my list is very much this movie touched me in a way that it might not touch you, but I made this list for me, basically.
That's something we all need, right? That kind of curation is what we all need, whether it's music or movies or any art. That I think is what's going to keep us going, is that kind of personal curation. So
I know personally, as I consume culture, I look for critics that I like to develop a relationship with a critic, people I've never even met. And I sort of, when I think of my readers the same way, that I hope that, you know, Austin Chronicle readers have been reading me since I was 20 years old. So I think they know who I am at this point in my taste. And just as I'm certain there are some readers who are like, okay, if KJ liked it, I'm going to like it too. There were probably just as many people who are like, oh my gosh, if she liked that movie, I am not going to go. And that's great. That's part of the relationship we have, you know, critics and the readership. Because I love movies. I mean, ultimately, that's it. I got into this because I love movies. I went to film school. I was a screenwriter for a
oh,
while. I
nice.
think movies are just about the greatest thing ever. So I want movie going experience to still be important and central to our lives as people who consume art. So yeah, let's all go to the movies.
Yeah. I joined We Love Video recently because I live in North Loop.
Oh, great.
And that is a big reason why I joined, is like you find somebody at the store that you really like, and then you just like watch everything they recommend, and you're going to be pretty happy with that.
You know, my very first job when I was, I think, 15 was at a video store called Wizard of Vid in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I had my own shelf with my picks on it. And it was just about the coolest thing ever. I loved it. So I am so happy that We Love Video is back. I actually selected my first apartment because of its proximity to the Guadalupe store.
Hell yeah.
And there's just something really special about that relationship with a video store. I think it's so great that We Love Video is trying to revive that experience. And there are a couple organizations around town doing that, trying to create a sort of film clubhouse feel. If it's Hyper Real with their new exhibition, or you know, AFS Cinema obviously is wonderful. You know, just hanging out at the lobby at AFS Cinema
I love
is
it.
so much fun. Yeah,
It's the best.
And the Draft House, obviously, the Draft House too is, you know, has such a dedicated fan base, and the movie going culture in Austin is I think doing great.
I agree. I totally agree. And you mentioned AFS. I'm now very curious, like, what is your favorite place to see a movie in a theater in Austin?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of factors go into it. It's what's playing where and what's closest to you. I have an incredible soft spot for Galaxy Highland because it's proximity wise, it's the closest like chain theater to me. But also, I love the clientele. I think it's just like, you know, we're all just chill people going to see the movies. It's not the fanciest place. I don't love the trend of making every seat a recliner. If I want to lay out and have a nap, I'll do it at home. I don't actually really love having a ticketed seat, or, you know, when you have to choose your seat ahead of time, because I don't know until I get in the theater.
Right.
Where because I have a very specific idea for me of where the perfect seat is. And I can't tell looking at a computer screen a couple hours in advance.
I really want to know, like, what makes the perfect seat?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I like to sit in the middle unless the aisles aren't big enough for me to get up and go out if I need to run out. I've gotten very good at timing bathroom breaks in movies. I like it to sort of be eye line. I don't want to be too high up. I don't want to be too low. I definitely don't want to be too close to the theater, to the screen. And gosh, I think that's I think that's more or less. I'm sure the moment we end this conversation, I'll think about 20 more things that are essential to me. But I always have to have water, and I definitely don't want you talking to me. My mom used to. She's passed away, but when she would go to movies with me, she wanted to talk to me through the whole movie, and I'm like,
Oh,
Mom, movies are my church. You're not allowed to talk to me right now. So yeah. But yes, I love going to Galaxy Highland and also AFS Cinema. That's where I'm going to see a lot of the art house and the classic, the repertory, foreign film. Their programming is incredible. Their programmers are so passionate about film and about, spreading the word of great film. I think probably my favorite film going experience was this year was at AFS Cinema. They screened an old Powell Pressburger film called A Matter of Life and Death. That's one of my favorite films ever. And getting to see it, this movie was made in the 40s. It was made during or right at the tail end of World War II. Getting to see that on a screen with other people who sort of recognize like how cool this is was a pretty magical experience. Oh, and also I took my dad to see The Third Man, also at AFS
oh,
Cinema.
nice.
Same deal. One of the greatest films ever made, black and white. A lot of folks just don't even know what it is, let alone have ever seen it. And AFS Cinema is week to week giving us all opportunities to have these experiences that you're never gonna get, especially unless you live in New York or LA or Chicago or another really big film town. And, just a little plug for the Austin Chronicle. If you pick it up every week, you have people who love film who are recommending these films every single week. So I just feel like we live in an incredible town for going to the movies, and we should all take as many opportunities as we can to do it.
Totally. I think you're right. We're spoiled by that kind of a film scene and that kind of an experience here.
I will say, though, controversially, look, I love the Draft House. I've had amazing experiences at the Draft House, but fundamentally, I just don't want people walking in front of me during a movie. And so when I go there for fun, it's because I'm going for some of their like really cool programming that's like got a host, or it's a movie like, I went to see Clue for my birthday a few years ago with a bunch of friends. And like, that was the perfect experience because I've seen that movie probably 30 times over the course of my life. But yes, if I'm going to see a movie for, a brand new movie, I really want it to be like nobody's talking unless we're all like laughing together. Or
if it's like a popcorn film, I love seeing it at the Draft House. But if it's like an art house film, I would much rather see it at like AFS than at the Draft House South Lamar or something.
Yeah, you want to lock in.
Yeah, I want to be present with it. I want to experience it with everybody, but like, I want people to be there for the film. You mentioned going to the movies with your mom. Like, at what point did you consider yourself like, okay, I am like a cinephile versus just like somebody who goes to the movies a bunch,
Really, really early. And my parents, who were not like they're not massively into the movies. We weren't imbibing, Kurosawa on the weekends when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But they just, they took me to the movies, and they didn't get annoyed when on the drive home, I would just ask question after question after question about, well, how come that happened? And I don't understand that. And why do you think that? And this kind of reminded me of this other movie. And they indulged me. And they did show me a lot of old movies when I was a kid. I saw the entire Hitchcock canon as a child, which really freaked me out, but was a pretty great film education.
Yeah.
They could tell early on that I wanted to be a writer. They sent me to like the Duke Young Writers Camp in North Carolina. A lot of folks went through over the years. And that's where I took my first film criticism class when I was 14 or 15 years old. They were always just like, you know what, do whatever you love. And if movies are it, like, go do movies. And I was incredibly lucky that I just kind of fell into working at the Chronicle, where, they said, hey, you want to write movie reviews? And I did. And then I just kept sticking around and just moving up the masthead. And now I get to both run a progressive newspaper in Austin, Texas, and also get to write movie reviews every week. So you really can't beat that from my perspective.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. Well, is there anything else about the film industry or movies in Austin, or some of your favorite movies of the year that you want to add that I haven't asked about?
Oh my gosh. I mean, We could go on for another 6 or 7 hours if you've got time to talk about movies.
I would love to.
No, I mean, I would just say one more extension of Austin being such a great film town is that we have incredible film festivals, and they are open to everybody. And they are, they're the big dogs like South by Southwest and Austin Film Festival and AGLIF, which I think is the longest running LGBTQ film festival in the country. And then there are also some smaller but incredible, more niche film festivals like Indie Meme. Cine Las Americas is another really big one, been around for a long time. And these film festivals, they have year-round programming. So if there's something that you're interested in, a specific kind of film, like I bet you that there is a home for that in Austin. So yeah, it's just, an embarrassment of riches here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I feel like we should all do our part to keep film going alive in Austin. And it's also just a great way to meet people and find your people,
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been attending Indie Meme for a few years now. I have a few friends that are involved in that festival, and you just have such great conversations in between films.
For sure. No, you're right. Like a movie is 2 hours long, and that's great, but it's the conversations you're having afterwards, and it's the years that you spend thinking about that movie and that one weird thing that happened.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. So everybody listening, go check out the Chronicle, go check out the lists, and find one that looks interesting. And also check out the film festivals that are happening all over the city. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me just prattle on about movies. It's my favorite thing in the world.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to Kimberly's list and her social media in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.